things to say that I'd like to share with you all about the year that's coming, 2026. I went back in time there. The year of the closing door, I'm calling it. Anyway, so today, I begin my tea ceremony. I've got, this is what I do in the mornings. I sit out very early. Those of you who catch me on Instagram, sometimes in the morning, spontaneously, I appear at the end of one of my tea sessions, and I sit out very early, out in the dawn, and I often have some incense. This is like aloes wood from Vietnam. This particular incense is really lovely. Aloes wood is a particularly good incense, very subtle, not like those kind of crazy Nag Champa things that you buy in New Age shops. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but these are just really subtle and beautiful, and they've for a long time been known to harmonize beautifully with ancient teas and really good teas. So this is the one I've chosen today, and I have a whole load of different incense that I choose from. Sometimes from Taiwan or Japan or Mongolia, or I just see what I'm feeling like. But it creates a nice, it just shifts your energy into a kind of contemplative frame of mind. And then today I've got a really amazing tea. It's like, I don't know why I pulled this one out. It's called a rock tea, and this is from China, South China. All the teas I drink generally are from China, and it's from the area of Wuyi. And this is a really old one. This is from 1970, which is almost unheard of to find a rock tea. Not unheard of, but they're collector's items, and I was incredibly fortunate to have a friend that shipped me some and let me have some of his. And so you're very unlikely to find this a tea of that age of that style. And a rock teas are teas that are grown in a specific area where it is rocky terrain, and often they're little rocky valleys, and sometimes the tea trees grow out of the cliffs, and then the Aboriginal people pick the leaves. So that they're often wildcrafted teas as well, rather than plantation teas, although sometimes they can be. But from the 70s, it's a good chance it was wildcrafted. We don't know for sure. And they have a certain quality to them. It's an oolong variety of tea, which means it's roasted, and then it's kind of it's like cared for and stored for a long time. And so most of us who drink ordinary tea, there's nothing wrong with ordinary tea, by the way. I also drink occasional Earl Grey and PG tips, or whatever we call it in the UK. And but I am a bit of a tea snob now, I'm afraid. And anyway, this one is absolutely stunning. I've had a couple of cups already, and I'm sorry to say, and I feel like I'm being a bit naughty drinking a tea of this quality in front of everyone. But what the heck? I was feeling like it today, and these rock teas, they are just divine. You can get hold of them online, I'm sure. You need to try and get a good one and find good provenance. But they have a certain quality to them that's just, it's a rock, right? They grow in this area where the rocks come out in the tea plantations or in the wild, and so they have the flavor of the rock, of these outcrops, and it's very grounding, and very empowering. Especially when a tea gets this old. If you ever have the opportunity to drink a tea that's 50 years old, or even older than 30 years, it starts to become an elixir, and the polyphenols and the compounds inside the tea break down into all kinds of compounds that we don't even know what they are, actually. So because, and when they enter the gut sort of just goes hallelujah, because there's all these incredible magical mystical compounds and things that have broken down in the tea over the generations, and then you have this incredible elixir. And the Chinese and the Japanese too, but Japanese are different. The Chinese love to drink these old teas if they can get hold of them. They can be incredibly expensive. This one, I would say, is pretty priceless. and I wouldn't think you'd easily get hold of a tea like this. But you never know. Once you start on your tea journey, it's incredible who comes forth and who you meet and how they a very generous community and people will share their teas. Look at this beautiful color, gold color. And someone asked, why do we pour it in here first? It kind of, it allows the tea to just then kind of be, sit and kind of gather in the pot. And especially if you're serving two people or more, if you poured it straight from the pot, then by the time you poured the second one, it would be stronger than the first one. So you don't want that. You want people to have the same strength of tea, rather than the person at the beginning has a weaker one and then the person at the end has a stronger one. So it blends and mixes the fluid. Anyway, so I'm going to just drink it now. Divine smell, sort of roasted like nuts, chestnuts, that kind of flavor, deep earthy notes, and you can smell the sort of the granite, the rock. It's almost like a deep, I don't know, it's like a silicon in the smell. It's beautiful. And you can really bliss out on a special tea like this. You can, it is a powerful thing when it goes, it's a plant medicine. When it goes into your body, it does magical and mystical things. It can take you on a journey. So I don't know where this is going to take me. I may just never even, get anywhere. Never mind 2016 or 2026. This tea is actually delicious as well to taste. Not all old teas are easy on the taste, but the chi in them is what we really look for. Like, what does it do when it gets inside your body? And this one kind of just goes right into my belly and sort of fills me from the belly up, and then I sort of feel pregnant. Anyway, and these oolong, I mean, I'm not a tea master by any degree, but these oolongs, you don't want them too hot. You don't want to like a boiling water. You want to underboil. I mean, a rock tea can handle a bit more heat, and they brew very quickly. And the way of drinking tea in this way is you keep steeping it, and then you keep drinking it, and then you steep and you drink, and there's a curve, an arc to the tea as you drink it over different brews. So it is said that the brews follow the chakras. So the first brew is the tea's just woken up, and then the second brew opens up your lower centers and your lower dantian, and it moves like that. And then when you get to the seventh one, if you get that far, you're enlightened. Anyway, that's the kind of mystical way of drinking tea, and it's been an ancient understanding. A couple of shout outs while I'm on tea, and then I'll move to Gene Keys and tea and contemplation. If you want to because last time people asked, how can I get this tea? And last time I drank a delicious, amazing tea called Emerald Heart. And I happen to know that you can get that through a friend of mine, Kirsten, who has a website called jadefrog.com. And he's very happy. He's expecting you to contact him if you wish. And he lives in Hawaii, and he will ship it to you. He has a good store of that tea, and it's a very precious tea. And so I'm quite amazed that I'm able to link you in, and he's there waiting for you anyway. And another one is my tea teacher, who's, I may have mentioned last time, P-O, who's a wonderful, wonderful man. And he lives in Portland, and his tea school is called Heaven's Tea, heavenstea.com. And if you want to learn about tea, there is no one on this planet better that I know than Po. And he's a wonderful man. He's a Jewish guy from New Jersey, right? But this man is imbued with just the wisdom of tea over decades of drinking it, researching it, learning about it, and he offers it in a very beautiful way. His particular style, I say, of serving tea is probably a little bit irreverent when you compare it to the Japanese tea schools, which are very zen and very precise and perfect and all of that. And although Poe knows all that, and he would would never go against those things. He has a rebellious spirit, and so tea is really about love and the way in which you serve it. So anyway, if you want to learn about tea, you can go and visit Poe, and he will happily share tea with you in his tea school in Portland. So heavenstea.com. And he doesn't actually sell tea, but he if you get enough people who are interested, he'll come to your area. So you could talk to him about that. But it's like, so he occasionally he travels and offers tea circles in different areas, and I absolutely recommend that you go, and if you have a chance, or if you're visiting Portland, you can go and stay with him. And I would also, I would say that you're meeting a tea master, and when you do that, you go in with reverence, and you also pay him well, because he won't ask you for money. He will say you can make a donation, and if you do that, please do make sure you give him a very generous one, because he's a very generous soul. He would hate me for saying that, by the way. But anyway, that's my tea talk. I will drink sporadically the old cup. So 2026. Well, I want to start by talking a bit again about The Sage. The Sage is my new book that I'm hoping will come out in the summer, and it should do. It's in the editing process, and it's taken me 5 or 6 years to write. And I call it the Gene Keys I Ching for the Future Human. Bit of a mouthful. And it is my version of the I Ching. And there are loads of I Chings out there, if you know the I Ching as a sacred text, ancient Chinese text. And my I Ching is a bit different from many of them, all of them probably, because I didn't reference any previous I Chings. Because the tradition in that amazing book is that people reference old commentaries, and the commentaries go and they get richer and deeper over the eons, the thousands of years. But I just decided to go right to the source of the I Ching inside me, as I did for the Gene Keys, and I wrote every single line of that book, of that I Ching. And so it's become this mystical book that I've compiled over these years of writing these little sutras, these 4-line bits of stanzas or bits of poetry that kind of sit at the top of each of the lines, 384 lines. So it's also can be used as an oracle. It can be used along with the gene key, so you can read the line that you have of your gene key specific to that key, and that's really interesting. That's called your mythos. And then each one has a contemplation around it and a name for each line, which are mystic, extraordinary names, some of them. There might be words that you've never heard of because they're drawn from all the different teachings and pantheons that I've studied over the course of my life. And so it has Celtic influence, and it has Buddhist influence, and it has Tibetan influence, and it has Hawaiian influence, and it has, pretty much a bit of everything from everywhere. So it's a truly global book. And the other thing to say about it is that it has no shadow in it, right? So it's a book for the future human. And the future human is the human that hasn't quite appeared yet in the world, but is coming, is being born even as we speak, is going to appear in our midst. And the future human is a human that has transcended and transformed, or is transforming the shadow, the traumas of our past and our ancestry and our individual past. And so it has no shadow in it. It is only a book of purity. And that's what really makes it a very kind of remarkable book, I think. And I'm going to read you a few I did last time, and I thought it'd be nice to read Where the Sun Is Today, because it sort of sets the tone for the day, and you might be at the beginning of your day, at the end of your day, but it's Gene Key 14 line 4, so hexagram 14 line 4, or if you know human design, it would be gate 14 line 4. And it doesn't matter if you have that line or anything, it's just the sun happens to be transiting through that right now, that line, and therefore imprinting humanity today with this energy. And it's called the line of soulfulness. Soulfulness, a lovely word. the quality of expressing deep feelings authentically. And here I am. And the sutra is called The Kiss. When friends disagree, the friendship deepens. When feelings are followed in trust, there is flow. What appeared as contradiction is revealed as depth, and the subtle truth shimmers like a kiss. The kiss. When friends disagree, the friendship deepens. When feelings are followed in trust, there is flow. What appeared as contradiction is revealed as depth, and the subtle truth shimmers like a kiss. I will read you also the contemplation. There is a lustrous sensuality running through this lime. Hamvas Bella, the great Hungarian sage, said that the kiss is the highest zenith possible for our senses, since it both gives and receives passion at the same time. Human feelings are to be celebrated in all their multifarious hues and dimensions. This is about trusting our feelings and creating a safe inner and outer space to express them without becoming tangled up in the game of blame. True feelings are an expression of soul, so long as they are authentic and not based on projection. As part of the tantra of life, our feelings lead us forwards and upwards into eventual transfiguration. So it's a beautiful kind of, this quality of soulfulness that you could carry into your day, and it's imprinting this day. And if you also read Gene Keys 14, you'll get more from that with the Gene Keys 14 and its incredible bounteous energy, and it's moving through the emotional system, and which is what the fourth line is about. It's like through the emotions, and so it has a lovely energy and a lovely feeling, and it's very topical in a way, because that quality of soulfulness is what we need, is what we're going to need as we transition through this year, next year, the year of the closing door. Because, and I've spoken about this already, and I'm going to keep on talking about it. Why is it called the year of the closing door? Because what I learned from the human design system and the teacher, the founder, Ra Uru Hu, is the way he described planetary cycles is really interesting. And there's a deep insight that he shared, which is that the planetary cycle, there's a kind of clock that governs the cycles, and you can see it through human design and through the gene keys, because they're the same algorithms. And what happens is that as you look over the cycles, that there are cycles within cycles, there are big arcs of development and flow that kind of change, and every now and again there's a new wave that comes in, and these wave cycles last about 420 years, and this current wave cycle ends in 2027, right? And then a new wave begins. But also, if you go back further to the grand cycle, you see that we're coming towards the end of the grand cycle. And also, because of the kind of where this current change is moving, it's moving into Gene Key 55 and Gene Key 59, which you can hear and read about through all my, many of my things. And it's the sort of prophecy of the gene keys and of human design as well. It's like this prophecy of the future human coming into the world. And what is that future human? And when is that human coming? People always ask, when is that coming? Because it's a more transcendent version of ourselves. And it's coming now. It's coming all the time. It's coming in steps and stages, in increments, in little insights, in our dreams, in the breaking down of what we see in the world around us. It's everywhere. Its signs and signature is everywhere, but it will continue to evolve through us, from inside us, inside our DNA, until it's changed us from the inside out. And it's a mutation in that way. So it's a planet-wide mutation that's very secret. So most people won't know it's happening, but it's happening. And it happens mysteriously through the different, according to its own secret algorithms. But it's here. And so 2026 is the last year of the old cycle. And that's really kind of an important thing to understand, because when that cycle ends, and it's going to end in the year 2027, it doesn't really matter when. I mean, there are dates you can get into. But when it ends, it means that there's no more fuel going into the old cycle. And if you think about the last 400 years, what humanity's done, from the 1600s, from the Elizabethan age in the West, and what you see the growth of cities, the growth of civilization, the growth of technology, science, the Enlightenment, all these different, this massive speed at which we have organized our global culture. We've become a global creature in those 400 years. And so if you think about that, and kind of, culminating in a way in the zenith, at its zenith in AI, that's sort of the culmination of like this incredible self-organizing principle that has been moving through the whole of human civilization, for good and bad, because it's had bad effects and it's had good. It led to the atomic bomb, and it led to all kinds of things, so. But the point is that when we are living in history as we do, and the weight of 400 years of that cycle, we assume that everything's going to carry on as normal, because that's when we look back, that's the energy we connect with and we feel part of. But what Ra shows is it's like a clock mechanism. Like once the clock shifts, the energy's shifted, and it's no longer available, and it's only available to the new cycle. And the new cycle, you can't see it yet. And the new cycle is about the birth of a new kind of human coming in. So there's an old human going out. But the point is that when 2026 is over, there's no more fuel for the old way. And what that suggests, to me anyway, is that decline is then very rapid. The decline of everything we've kind of built, not that the whole world's going to fall apart, but that impetus of the old ways, of the paradigms that we built our world on, the modern world, there's no energy left. So there's going to be a lot of decline, and quite fast. And we can see that beginning already. We can see cracks appearing everywhere. We can see the decline of like the values of families, and we can see, all kinds at social levels, at economic levels, in business. You can see it. You can see it kind of showing up everywhere in the geopolitical climate. You can see it in the climate itself, because all that energy that's gone into those 400 years have actually created a climactic event that's global in scope, that is worrying many of us, rightly so. And so what we've set in motion, it's like it's in motion, and it will continue, and that decline will continue. And so 2026 then is a really important year, because it's the last year where the old cycle has any energy. And if you can imagine, right, imagine you're an old cycle and you've got one more year, and you're like, and then all your fuel and your energy is going to be taken away, like all your money, all your funding, whatever. Like imagine what you might do in that final year. You might freak out. You might just have a final blast. Who knows what the energy will do in its last year? I suspect that there'll be a lot of fear in the world, because we like kind of linear progression, and we like to feel safe in linear, step. We can see where we're going, we feel where we're going, but it's like the rug's just been pulled out from under us, and then we have no idea where we're going anymore as a species. And so it's an incredible year. If you know this is coming, you can organize your life around it, your inner life, your outer life even. You can begin to feel into, well, this is a year I'm going to have to be super clear about life. This is a year I'm going to have to do something different, perhaps, from the way I've done things in the past. I may have to make a paradigm shift, and remember, this is the last chance for like deep kind of getting rid of stuff, so like if you haven't done your inner shadow work, you're going to carry it with you into the next cycle. It's going to actually imprint the next cycle. So you don't want that. You want to make sure that you've left it all behind in this year, 2026. So you want to clear out the cupboards, and you don't want to. It's not a year to begin something new on the outside. I would say it's a very risky year to begin a whole new massive thing, because it's not that you shouldn't. It's just be aware that there may be issues because it may not grow in the direction that you felt. Depends on whether your new thing is aligned with the new energy or the old energy. If it's aligned with the old energy, it's not going to get very far. If it's aligned with the new energy, which is transcendent, which is, if you read Gene Keys 55, it's about freedom, individual freedom, and planetary freedom, and it's about responsibility, and it's about intimacy, and it's about building intimacy, and it's a powerful time, and if you are in any way involved in business, you will already be feeling that, because the fuel is kind of sapping away, even though there's massive expansion or over expansion in certain areas. There's a steady decline, and I don't want anyone to be scared of this. You don't need to be scared. You don't need to be scared. Many people may well be very scared, but you don't need to be one of those people, because if you bring your focus onto the new instead of the declining of the old, you will feel aligned with the future. It's like as that door closes, you'll just go right through it. You'll go right through that keyhole, and you'll be like, that is where I want to be. And so you're aligning your energy in a completely new way, with a new paradigm, with new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking things. So you want to be really open. I wanted to read you a couple of the lines also that imprint next year. So this is a fun thing to do. You can, you can look at when the gene key, the sun, is in gene key 41 in the first line. That's always in January, right? So when the sun passes through, it's going through this whole genetic clock. And when it moves into gene key 41, that's the beginning of the year, right? Because 41 is the emanation. It's the beginning of the new always. And Pluto right now, which is the master planet of our whole civilization, is in Gene Key 41, right? It won't be there. It'll be there for the whole of the year, but 2 years almost, and it'll only be there every 256 years or so. So it's like it's initiating this new cycle, right? And so when the sun is there every January, about January 23rd or something, when you look at that, if you were to draw a chart, a Gene Keys profile or a human design chart, sorry, I better have another tea. If you draw a chart and you look at that chart for that day, you'll get an imprint of the year to come. And you can look at the planets, and you can look at the lines, and you can look at the keys, and you will see an imprint of the energies that are coming. So I've done that. I've looked at it, and I've noticed that Pluto, I'm looking at Pluto. Pluto, when the year begins, is in 41 line 2. Sorry. I think I'm going to put the incense out. I'm normally outside, so I'll have another rock tea. Pausing. As we know, pausing is a key component of the art of contemplation. There we go. So Pluto is in next year And the year begins, 41 line 2. And in the Sage, interesting name this, it's called Divine Monogamy, Pioneering Explorations into Committed Sacred Partnership. It's quite interesting, actually. I love the sutra in this. It's called The Dreams of Birds. And you have to really think deep about this one. The birds are our thoughts, the trees our memories, and the empty air our future. Small wonder then we sit in the trees and fill the air with our song. I love that. The birds are our thoughts, the trees are our memories, and the empty air our future. Small wonder then we sit in the trees and fill the air with our song. These are deep contemplative things, sutras. Laying the foundations for the future human, this beautiful line anticipates an extraordinary phenomenon, that of enlightened partnership. I'm not going to read the contemplation. I'm going to go into the oracle, because the oracle tells us about a moment, right? Everything right now, so this is for all of us for next year. Everything right now is pointing you towards partnerships. Whatever situation you currently find yourself in, it will be most quickly resolved and integrated through your ability to commit and to stay committed to a partnership of some kind. Sacred partnership is an alchemical vessel that requires courage and resilience. The situation calls for you to bring solid, grounded boundaries that protect you and the relationship so that the magical alchemy can occur. This may also be about redefining or even completing a partnership. A lot of partnerships have been ending, recently. I mean, a lot, more than normal. Partnerships filled with energy leaks lead to disastrous consequences. You must either plug the leaks through taking much deeper accountability for your thoughts, emotions, and actions, or you need to bring about gracious closure. Remember that the true purpose of all partnership is to deliver beauty. Right? There's quite something to really consider. Like, that's what we're being asked, what's being asked of us next year. One of the safest places for us to be is in our partnerships, in our friendships, in our one-to-ones, and to cultivate that wherever we go. And it's like the year of the closing door. You don't want, something where energy is leaking. You want something that's sealed. And also a sacred partnership you can be alone and be in sacred partnership. You can be in sacred partnership with yourself, with your soul, with your dog, with nature. There's many layers and levels to this. And so I think it's a very sweet indicator for us of, like, stay the course. Make sure that in your relationships in the next year, 2027, 2026, that you do not have energy leaks, because they will, cause problems, big problems. So yeah, really something to contemplate, not to rush out and make a big change straight away. That's not the contemplative's way. The contemplative's way is to do things gently and to really feel into them and feel into the feelings. Like that was our first line, right? Feeling into the feelings. And you really got to trust your feelings in this year ahead. As things are doing whatever they're doing, and fear is kind of on the climb around the planet for whatever reasons. Feeling our feelings and allowing them to come up in truth and in safety is a really important thing. I'm going to read one more line, which is Neptune, which is a lovely one, which is another second line, and it's 25, line 2. And so it's quite magical for Neptune to be in Gene Key 25, because 25 is about universal love. So, and Neptune is a kind of spiritual energy. So it kind of, it's what's going on under the surface. It's the deep process that's often hidden under the surface of our lives. So if we look at that as a planet, yes, things may be falling apart. We need to kind of stay committed in our direction, but like, what's going on under the surface? And this line is called vigor, pristine clarity and commitment in decision making that brings harmony to any system. The most complex, called Codebreaker, the most complex problems have the simplest solutions. When you listen deeply enough, everything disappears but for the beautiful answer. And it's like, few lines have as much dynamic energy as this. There's a lot of dynamic energy around in this year, a lot of huge amount of change. However, this is more than just a vast reservoir of untapped potential. This line also carries precision and clarity. Another thing, these energies we're going to need next year. The answers to the great questions are simply about discovering the correct combinations of ideas and chemistry and people and timing. The right combination then becomes a singular action, a seemingly small change that creates organic and harmonic ripples throughout a system. Of all the numbers on a safe, only one combination eventually opens it. This is the nature of true wisdom rooted in selfless love. It's the single most efficient step that brings harmony, coherence, and balance into any situation. So that's a real key for us, is like going into our deep inner wisdom that lies inside us. And, that's why what I'm putting on next year is a whole year-long retreat, series of retreats, of online retreats, so that the global community who are interested in the Gene Keys can participate in a series of like contemplations that go deep into our inner reality to throw out shadow patterns, to transmute them into their gifts and into their, higher components, their siddhis, as we call them. And we do it as a collective, and it therefore it brings us it brings us into sacred partnership. You partner with the teaching, you partner with the transmission. That's the power of like you create a container, and you commit with vigor to that container, and you stay in it. And this is what is going to be needed. Whatever your container is, when you begin 2026, make sure you know what your container is and you commit to it, whatever it is. And I invite you to, if you're interested in the Gene Keys, I know many people are, for a long time, like 4,000 people will sign up for this call or so. And I know many of you are interested to sort of put your toe in the Gene Keys, and you're sort of a little bit here. You maybe read the book, and it's like this. And I've known people for years who've been around the Gene Keys, but they've never done one of the programs or one of the retreats. So you've actually never really fully engaged with the depth of the teaching, which is in the programs and in the meditations and in the journeys and in the, in the current of what we call the golden path, the sage's golden path. And so I really invite you to be serious in your commitment and think like, it may not be this, but like if it is, then really look at it, really consider like, well, what is it? Why haven't you gone deep? Why haven't you made that commitment? I'm not doing this for a salesy thing. I'm doing it because, I don't know, sometimes we need a bit of a push. And I want to invite you, or I want to pull you deeper into the veins of the contemplation of this teaching, because I know what modern humans are like. We have so many things. We're butterflies. We go a light over here and there and there and there. We're doing this and a bit of everything. And yet contemplation, really, the power of it is its decisiveness to like choose a single path and then give yourself 100% to that path. And what that can do is miraculous. So 2026 is a year in which you need to think about that for yourself. What is your version? What is your golden path? And find out what that is and follow that thread. And it may even be the Gene Keys Sage's golden path, and you'll travel with me and the rest of our community. I hear that we have 800 people already booked for the whole year. It's incredible. Like, you guys are nuts. I love it. I love the rebellious quality, the wildness of like making that commitment. You don't have to book for the whole year. You can do the first one, right? You can do it in increments. But the first one's 4 months. So you don't get off lightly. This is not light kind of, weekend workshop knowledge. It's not knowledge at all. It's wisdom. And wisdom has to be earned in your everyday life through ongoing, profound contemplation. You're not going to unlock the deepest insights of your wisdom through just doing a little bit here and a little bit there. It doesn't work like that. You can't just dig like lots of little holes in the ground and expect to get to the water table. You got to dig one hole and keep going down and down and down and down and down and down the well, and then you get to the water table, right? So I invite you not to waste your time and energy in 2026, and begin the year knowing, if possible, the direction you're going to go. Decisiveness. Remember, that was that line. Decisiveness. Don't waste energy. You're going to have to be a little bit ruthless, or fierce with what you put your energy to, so that you're not wasting it, because there are going to be so many distractions, and it's going to be very easy for you to get sucked into whatever is going on in the world. And it may not be good. It may not be nice. It may be more decline. There might be some nice things. Let's hope there are as well. There always are. There are sunsets and sunrises and the birds, and that's all available for us. The cultivation of beauty, the cultivation of wisdom, the drinking of fine teas, the doing that, the cultivation of that beauty. That was a key thing, and that Pluto is sort of inviting us towards, like, stay the course with something, and make sure you know who you're connected to, your soul group, your soulfulness, people that you trust. Even if it's only one person, stick with them and kind of go, so you know where your support structure is, and you're going together, with your eyes open into this time of massive change and transition. So those are my thoughts and ideas as they stand. I've got a quarter of an hour, and I'm open up for you guys, if you want to ask questions. And I'm gonna I'm gonna look at my phone and I met my amazing Katrini, who's in Russia, is going to send me some of your questions. Yeah. So ask a question. Oh, look, my sister's typing me. She can send me a question. Yeah. Anyone who wants to ask anything, now's the time. So send it in, or I'm on various things right now. I'm on Vimeo and Instagram, and so just type away, and hopefully we'll get it. I'll pause while waiting. Have another rock tea. There's a beautiful thing about tea, is it's so aesthetically pleasing. The smells, the sights, the steam in the morning in the darkness, with the candle flame, and you see this, it's so exquisite. I come join me on Instagram one morning if you catch me live, and drink your tea, and yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions coming in. Okay. So I'm noticing the drama of relationships are getting so loud. How to not get sucked into the noise. I think, it's like the very first retreat we're doing, beginning in January, is called Activation Sequence Retreat. And it's about purpose. It's about truth. It's about anchoring yourself in the core stability of your purpose. And unless you're anchored in your soul's purpose deep inside your body, and it's not really a what I'm here to do, it's more of a this is who I am, this is my energy that I'm here to be, and it's my anchor. And if you're anchored in that purpose, you can't lose yourself in relationships. Because if you don't have that anchor and you go into a relationship, then you just immediately get sucked into the codependent patterns, between you, the dynamic of the chemistry, because you don't have that anchor. So this is me. You're just in the field of, and it might be mixed love and wounding and all of it, and it's all mixed in, and you don't know where you begin and the other ends, and so it's a tangle. So you got to be really ruthless again with like, this is my purpose, this is who I am. Anchor that in this year. If you don't do my retreat, do something else that really allows you, helps you to embody that sense of core stability. So you know who you are. You don't have to know what you're here to do, you're next. Like, this is a very difficult time to know what I'm supposed to do next because there's so much uncertainty. But at least you know who you are, right? So you got to have that deep feeling. And sometimes there's some shadow patterns that are in the way of that. So our activation sequence, your gene keys, help you kind of transmute those shadows so that you can feel the anchoring and the basis, the rock, right, of this, like this rock tea. You feel the rock solid nature of your soul. And the moment you get in touch with that feeling, and that it's a knowing in your belly, like, you can never get so tangled up in a relationship again. You may enter into difficulties and stuff, but you won't get tangled up in it because you have an anchor, you have a ground. Cheers. So yeah, let's not get distracted. Can you talk about trust? When does the online course begin? It begins on this lovely day, January the 6th, Epiphany, right? And I'm going to be sending out a magical gift over Christmas, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. But it's about Epiphany and the beautiful, it's a Christian festival, Epiphany. The three wise men, the three sages, the Magi that come to, hold and visit the Christ child and hold presence and witness for the Christ child. It's a symbol, right? It's a symbol. And you ask about trust. It's like you've got the trust is in the rock. It's in the foundation of who you are. Like, you don't, unless you connect with that part of your being, of your soul, of your eternal soul, you're never going to feel safe in your body. And so you're not going to be able to feel safe in the world. And you're just at the mercy of the swirling currents of change, and you hear the news and you wake up in the mornings with anxiety in your belly. I know that feeling. I know it, right? And so create the field of contemplation in your life. This is like the center teaching, so that when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you experience is a spaciousness. So that if fear does come up, and it often does first thing, or anxiety, you actually have a cushion for it to land in. And it's the cushion of your soul that's just like, this is not even my anxiety. This is the anxiety of the world, because we all feel it. I mean, we're all sensitive to it. Even, it's like deep down, some of us are incredibly sensitive, but we're all sensitive to it. And so you just have to feel it and not identify with it. Just create this cushion so that you can trust it. You can trust the fear. You can trust that it just needs a place in you. It's a feeling. So let it come up through your system. Breathe, watch it, create the space. Don't have to react to it. And if you really allow it its time, it will just, it's a spiral. It moves through your system and out, and it's gone. And breathing is very helpful, and drinking tea is very helpful, and many things are very helpful. But it doesn't really require a strategy other than that, other than you create the space and you trust in it and you listen to the difficult feelings. And I really want you, if you're interested in the Gene Keys, then and these teachings, like, contemplation is the most beautiful teaching that everyone on this planet most needs. And thankfully, Hay House, wonderful publishing house, are republishing my book on contemplation this year, and it's going to come out in June, and be more widely available, I hope. And so it's like it's a core teaching for humanity, because it's about gentleness and patience. Like, we have wounded children in us. The human being is a wounded child. Look at how we behave. We're still adolescent, and so when we come to look at ourselves in the mirror, we realize, what have I done? What am I doing? How did I treat that person like that? How was I so blind? And we realize these things, and so contemplation provides a framework, a feeling, a spaciousness, a cushion, an oak tree for us to sit under, so that there's space for it to be felt and trusted. And that's what I think is most important. I want to get also. I'm going to do one. I'll do one more question, and I will read your questions, and it might bring some through to next time. Will you speak about? Will you speak about the closing of 2025 and how we might pay attention to it? Yeah. Everyone's sending in, I have this key, I have this key, tell me about that. But I think it's a great question. Like, how do we close 2025? I think, rolling into that contemplation, like often that time of year is busy, and it has a sort of, it's like a sting in the tail of the year, and we've had a busy full year, and for many of us, it's like it's not what we need. So I would say, give special time this closing of 2025 to deep contemplation on what has been, and let the last year go, and meet the new year, with a new energy, with an openness, so that you don't have any remnants of stuff sitting in your system. And do something, again, my gift that I'm going to give to you, if you're part of, if you're on the mailing list, you're going to have a lovely gift that will really help you with that question. It's going to come out sometime in September, and you'll see it, and it'll be on all the Gene Keys airwaves, and it's free, and it's a little, mini series for you to just create the space so that you can enter into 2026 in the right frame of mind, feeling really good, feeling empowered, feeling anchored and grounded, and also that, there's the need to, while this year is kind of doing whatever it's doing, and the energies are kind of dynamically flowing, around, there's a need for not taking it too seriously inside ourselves. There's going to be serious stuff going on, but there's a need for us to hold each other and just not get because that's another way that we can get distracted. Is like we think we have to do something. We think we have this kind of big responsibility, and we don't. The only responsibility we have is to be ourselves. That's it. Just to be yourself, and to entertain the feelings that flow through you. That like in that line, so there's no contradictions, inside us. And contemplation again creates that space, so we don't, if we feel anxiety, or if we feel pressure, or if we don't get stuck in our head trying to figure things out too much. Contemplation is about that. Contemplation is about allowing answers to arise. Remember that thing about, there's only one correct combination for a safe, right? So if you have a question that's deep inside you about something, might be a health issue, might be a relationship, might be the planet, it might be what's going to happen, and what is, contemplation will give you the answer and in the right sequence at the right timing. But you can't expect it all at once, because it's not that kind of an answer. It's an epiphany answer. It's a breakthrough answer. It comes from inside the body. The body's knowing, the wisdom of the body. It's an embodied answer. It's not a mental answer. And we so much want mental answers. We're like, give me a mental answer. I need knowledge. I need the knowledge answer. And then you're like, it doesn't do anything. It's just data. You're like, okay, I need another one now. And the only answers that are true are the ones that come deep, welling up in the cells of our being. They are where, you know, the safe opens up. And actually, ironically, we start to feel safe. And we start to, you know, so I really hope you don't feel alarmed by my prophecies for next year, this energy. I'm just conjuring up the energy that I feel is we're all part of, and we're caught in this flow, and it's going to carry us into 2027, and 2027 is going to be a very different kind of year. We don't really know where that year is going to take us. That's also a transition year, and by 2028 we're going to be, you know, in the new. And so really align, you know, it's what I'm doing as a symbol in a way is aligning myself with these 2 years, with the flow of these 2 years. So I'm ending 2027 with a big US tour, like a big celebration of everything I've ever done over the course of my life with the Gene Keys. And then after that, I have no idea who I'm going to be or what I'm going to do or where or any of it. It's just draw a line there. But really make the most of these 2 years. And 2026 is the launch pad. It's the launch. It's the ramp. It's a ramp. You know, that there's a lovely image that my team put on with the year of the closing door, this keyhole with a light coming through it. Like, that's it. You're going to, your consciousness, your soul is going to fly through that keyhole. You don't want to be hammering at the door going, how does it open? How do I get through? Oh, I've missed it. You can't miss it. You can't. It's not about missing. You know, it's just there are those that will fly through, and there are those that will be hammering and going, why isn't this working? Old paradigm, the old ways, they're declining. We can kiss them goodbye. Remember, we had the kiss. That was the first one. Let's just kiss them goodbye, and go, wow, you really served well. You look at the thing. Look at the good things that cycle's brought the world. You know, and you can just count them. But there's just countless hygiene, and you know, all the things that we learned from the last cycle, which was the Middle Ages, right? You know, and lifespan increasing, and all the good things. So don't count the bad things. Just let them go under the bridge. Let the water take them. Bring the good things with us, and carry them into the new cycle. And forget the bad things. They're gone anyway. And let's not worry too much about where this is taking us. And you know, yes, we must be concerned. We can't not be by things like climate change and geopolitical things, and you know, polarity on the increase, and the sort of breakdown of families and corruption and all the, you know, all of it. Right? We that's part of us being in the world. And yet, make sure your soul has a kind of clear passage through all that stuff. I'm gonna end by reading one person's Gene Key and line. I'm going to read your mythos, right? So you can put in, yeah, I know, my poor Emily and Katrina are probably getting hundreds. Like, you can put your Gene Key and a line number, a dot and the line number after it, and they will pick one, or I'll pick one, and I'm going to read it to you because I want you to have a taste of like the mythos, you know, which is what you're going to get in the Sage program. You're going to get loads of those. You're going to see what is my mythos. And it's a lovely word, mythos. It's sort of a bit like the Western version of the word dharma. You know, it's like, here is my living myth. You know, so it can be your purpose, or it can be your Gene Key of this, or your SQ, or whatever. You can put it in. And as I said, you'll get it in the program, or you have to wait for the book to come out. But I'll pick one. It's a nice way to end, and let's kind of trust that it's going to be a prophetic one as well. Katrini says, I can't pick one. You've got to pick one. Look, okay, so there's a few there. I'm gonna wait. Yeah. Good. Okay, we got one. I'm just gonna take the first one you got, Kadrini. 53, line 6. I'm gonna pull it up. Um, let's see. Who has 53, line 6? I wonder what your name is. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe you're doing it for all of us. Give me a moment because there's so many of them. It's like you have to flick through. Here we go. 53, line 6. Oh, it's a nice one. Very appropriate for tea. Shujian. I don't know how you say that word, but I'm sure if there are Chinese people who speak Chinese here, they will know. Shujian. Tzujan. The effortless and playful flow of being without the need for external purpose. Damn, it's got me, right? Like I was just going, how important purpose is, and then in comes like the sage and says, no, we'll throw that out. Resting in the rhythm of the river. Youth usurps usefulness. Maturity means meandering. Old or young, bright or wise, rest in the rhythm of the river of your life. There's some deep ancient sage who just muttered this in my ear one morning. Resting in the rhythm of the river. Youth usurps usefulness. Maturity means meandering. Old or young, bright or wise, rest in the rhythm of the river of your life. It's beautiful. Chujian is a Chinese Taoist expression of rich and quite untranslatable mystery. It could be interpreted as spontaneous naturalness or perhaps an effortless unfolding. The sutra here deepens our contemplation of a sense of not trying in life. We modern humans have become very utilitarian and everything we do seems to need a purpose. So this is different from having a purpose. Things without purpose are often overlooked or frowned at. Chujian invites us to look into the essence of the universe, the self, and see purpose simply as being or as play. When we are young, we know this more fully since we inhabit the present moment. Our schools then try to make us useful. And when we get old, we may again remember this deep sense of ease represented here by the gently meandering river. When our core is at ease, everything takes care of itself and life writes its perfect story through us. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to read your mythos because that's what you're going to get when you do the sage. You're going to get these lines. So your mythos, 53, line 6. Your life is a process of stripping away the falseness of a homogenized learning. Everything that happens to you has the higher purpose of showing you the futility of your desires. You will never be fulfilled by the external. One by one, I'm reading this to every single one of you. One by one, your worries and cares will drop away and you will realize that you are whole and have always been whole just as you are. This paradox of becoming innocent lies under everything. You are a child of the universe, here only for play. Whatever you do, realize this play woven deeply into the fabric of being. It truly doesn't matter what happens. How few humans realize this. But you may one day become one of the rare ones. Then you will radiate this philosophy of ease and joy, and you may touch many souls simply by being who you are. It's a beautiful line. Chujian, the effortless and playful flow of being. And so play, play is a deep, play is everywhere in the universe. And it doesn't mean make light of things. It's an inner essence of life. Life is a dalliance. It is a play. It is a journey. It doesn't know where it's going. At some deep level, it knows, the acorn knows it's going to become the oak, but it doesn't really know. Same in us. We don't really know where we're going or who we're becoming, but there's a deep level where we're okay with that because we are at play. We are being at play. So in my, think about my Sage's Golden Path journey next year. Think and contemplate it deeply and consider if you want to come, because we are going to play for an entire year and more. We are going to be at play in the fields of the Lord. And we're going to play in lots of unexpected, spontaneous ways. And I'm going to layer in all kinds of surprises and surprise guests who are going to join me. There's a lot of really incredible, powerful people already coming on this retreat, like teachers in their own right. And I've coerced them into coming with me. As I'm trying to coerce you, come on, make a jump, make a commitment. And if it's not to this, make sure it's to something true in your soul. So yeah, year of the closing door. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening. I hope you enjoy some tea or your version of tea, whatever brings you the spirit of play alive in you. And thank you so much for joining me and listening and being here. I will continue. I have one more Sages Tea Party in December, and I'm doing all kinds of other stuff at the moment. I seem to be engaged in all kinds of podcasts and things. So keep your eye on Gene Keys, and I'm having some wonderful conversations with them, amazing people, and they will keep rolling out over the next months. You know, on the lead up to this this big journey, the Sage's Golden Path. So bless you and be well, and take care of yourself above all. Yeah, thank you for being here and holding presence with me. And I will look at your questions and read them and maybe filter them into the next session. So much love. Enjoy the autumn if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. It's wonderful at the moment. I have these little leaves. I did a thing on Instagram where I was like catching leaves as they fall. Like, don't let them hit the ground. These are the 2 leaves I caught. You have no idea how long it took me to get these. I kept missing and falling over, and idiot. Anyway, they're magical. A leaf that hasn't touched the ground is a thing of mystery and beauty. So much love, and I will see you soon.